Sunrise, and Kaye Titmarsh from the E-Club.
Hopefully... Oh, we've got two microphones working because I'm going to do a bit of roaming. Hopefully this will work. Woohoo! Okay. For those who don't know, my name's Simon Brook. I first got involved in Rotary back in 2010. I applied for a GSE, failed miserably because I rocked up in clothes not too dissimilar to this, to the weekend. I since went back in 2012. I got through. I went on a group study exchange to Wisconsin. And I've since come back, grown up a little bit, and now an incoming president for Surface Sunrise. So, that's my story.
I'm Kaye, everyone. I'm with the Rotary E-Club. Rotary's been in my life for a long time now. I was an interactor in high school, and this year I will have been out of high school for 10 years. I did MUNA, and the lovely Peter True there suggested that I do a youth exchange, which is kind of a turning point for me. I met some beautiful people that are in this room today that stuck by me over the years, and eventually I became a Rotarian. So that's me.
Today we're talking to you about engaging young people in Rotary. So I guess the first question, which is probably the toughest, is there a problem? Can I get a bit of a yell or a scream from the audience? Who thinks there is a problem with Rotary engaging with young people?
Yes!
And who thinks there isn't a problem?
You can be honest, it's okay.
Ooh, okay, we're on the right track and we've got the right audience. So, I guess...
Who thinks that the young people are a problem?
Who thinks the young people are a problem?
Wendy in particular?
Yeah, just you, Wendy. So, you're already halfway there. The fact that you've acknowledged that there's a problem is a good start. So, I guess the first question is, why do we even want young people in Rotary? We're going to hand this over to you guys. I guess this is more of a discussion to get some creative juices flowing. So, is there anybody who would like to comment on why do we even want young people in Rotary? Apparently, this is what we are. We're just people who sit at the dinner table and text, don't talk, are really bad drivers, got our heads in the computer, don't have any social skills. Why do you even want that type of person?
We want young people in Rotary because we want continuity. We're all getting older, we're all going to fade away one day, and we want the club to keep going.
Okay, so kind of a Rotary legacy. Fair enough. Anybody else? Energy. Reduce the average age of the club. David?
New ideas.
New ideas? You think we just come with them? Fair enough. Well...
Hello. I think we've got to define the width of what's in it for me.
What's in it for me? Is that for you as Rotarians? What's in it for you guys? Or what's in it for us as the young people? What's in it for us? That's a good question. Yeah, one more, sure.
To reflect the makeup of society. Young people are a large part of our society, and therefore we should also have them in Rotary.
Absolutely, that's a very good point. We are a large portion of society, and Rotary probably doesn't reflect that same spread. So, new ideas, new blood, energy, carry on the Rotary legacy. You've covered them all, so you've got that really well. So, why now? This is the hard truth, but Rotary's been around for 1,000 years or whatever it is. You guys all joined at some stage, and I know a lot of you joined when you were young. 20, 25, 30, dare I say, 40 years ago. Here's the question. What the bloody hell has Rotary been doing for the last 30 years? It doesn't seem like anybody's joined.
Yes.
Why is the problem now? Why were we not having this discussion 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Technology. So the problem now is technology. Just got a microphone.
Stuck with the old ways.
Stuck with the old ways?
We probably were having the conversation 10 years ago, but it's just got worse.
It's got worse. So, I guess, look, at some stage there was an influx of Rotarians, and you were all young at one stage. Did you join when you were young? No? Nobody joined when they were young.
No, I think years ago the idea was that Rotary was a businessman's club, and a lot of the networking to join Rotary was done through businesses, and I think the young people in those days were mostly excluded.
That's a very interesting point. We'll touch on that later on. But Rotary being a network for business, it's a very good point. We've got one comment down the front.
I was personally only joined Rotary a bit over a year ago.
Yeah.
But when I left school, I was in Rotary. Was in service clubs at young age. But when I got into my middle years, I had a family to raise, that sort of thing. I didn't have the time or the money.
Fair enough. Yeah, sure, why not? We got plenty of time. We started early.
I think as Rotarians, what we've noticed over the years is there's been less engagement in community, not just by young people, but people in general. So in the past where we had things like Rural Youth, Apex, Lions Rotary and those organisations, they seem to have got less and less. So as Rotarians, I think we've noticed that. Our communities have noticed it, and that's why we've started to have this discussion about how do we engage, not just with young people, but with communities in general.
Yeah, okay. So we're getting further and further disconnected from the youth. Is that a fair statement?
Yep.
Yeah? Would you say that we're becoming extinct? I'd like to put a picture of the dinosaur up. An interesting stat yesterday that I can't remember who it was. I'm suffering from old age already. In 5 years' time, that 40% of our Rotary population will be, dare I say it, past now, potentially. Keeping up with change. Technology's a good one. So, here's a little image for you. Some of you may be classified as seniors, and once upon a time the catchphrase was, write me. You would actually write a letter to somebody of that generation. The baby boomers came along and they said, no, we've got telephones, call me. Gen X then said, well, we've got these things called computers and we'll email each other. Gen Y now text each other. A phone is something that's become an extension of the hand. I'm guilty. One thing that doesn't show is there's another generation called Gen Z. So there's another form of communication. Which we've touched on a little bit today, but social media plays a large part of that. So these are the type of generational gaps that we're trying to bridge here, and as you can see, the longer we leave it without doing something, the harder it is to do. So, great, we've got a problem. So let's talk about the challenges. What challenges do we have in engaging young people in Rotary? In particular, with young people generally, what challenges do we have with young people in general, other than getting them to wear closed-in shoes on a Sunday?
I would suggest that it's a communication issue, and potentially not just communication, but a perception of how we communicate. I'm a Gen X, YAP student, so my first involvement in this district was in 1997, and I was the charter president of the Rotary Club of Coomera River. But for me, I personally see that Rotary has so many programs on a community level and an international level that we're touching literally thousands of people, but we're not engaging those people that we touch, in the sense that between being a youth exchange student or attending MUNA or being involved in Interact in high school, there's a big gap between that growing up period, where as Rotary clubs and Rotarians, we're not actively engaging people that know something about Rotary. So all these interactors, they've been raising funds, they know what the word Rotary means. They're not going to join a Rotary club as when they graduate, and we don't want them to because they'll burn out. But as Rotarians, we need to find ways of interacting with them, and communication, I would say, is it. And I have to say, my generation supposedly email, but it's a one-way communication street. Do I receive the email? Yes. Do I open it? Maybe. Do I read it completely? Probably not. So is it an effective form of communication? It's what I would put out there. And the misconception is that because my generation like to email, that's how we like to communicate. But if you want to engage me, give me a call. Then I'm engaged. I have a one-on-one conversation. The likelihood of miscommunication is greatly reduced. A two-line email or an email without punctuation and spelling, which I still find horrendous, isn't a form of communication that engages or interacts with anyone. So I think we need to make communication a two-way street. And yes, we need technology, social media, but we need to get back to basics.
Absolutely. This makes it, well done. This makes it really awkward because one of the slides I have is communicating. So, talk about communication. Who can understand that gibberish? I know people won't try, and you'll know some of them. Isn't this more exciting than a crossword or Sudoku or something? There you go. So communicating. You guys might not understand it, but this is the type of conversations that are happening with the newer generation. So, I'm not saying that you have to go out and learn hieroglyphics or anything, but be aware that communication is a different thing. I'll just go back one as well, understanding them. Who can actually physically put the connection together there? You know what the thing is at the top?
Cassette.
And the thing at the bottom? Okay, what do you do with...
Wind the tape on.
Yes, you all know it. Give those two items to somebody who was born after 2000, they'd have no idea what the first thing even is. So, knowing that you've actually got to understand people of a different generation is certainly one of the struggles. What about relating to them? Once you've learned how to speak gibber, how do you actually relate to them? How do you have a conversation? How do you engage a young person? Text message. Take the laptop off of there.
And the tablet.
And the tablet. And the phone.
No!
I'll suggest you be particularly unpopular if you...
Get on it yourself and answer them!
Yeah.
Talk to them face to face.
Face to face? What is this face to face communication?
Facebook.
I know.
Interaction.
I know. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
I love you, Simon.
I love you, too. So, what are the challenges in Rotary then? Finding them. How do you find these young people? Do you don your 60s disco gear and go hitting the nightclubs? I'll throw it to you. Where do you find these young people? Everywhere. Where's everywhere?
Channeling.
Maintain a database. What's a database? One of those technical things. Yeah, how else do we find them? Where do you go to find these people?
Universities.
Where do they hang out? Universities. Anybody else?
TAFE colleges.
Workplaces. TAFE.
Sporting clubs.
Where? In the bedroom.
And our protection officer maybe have it with
So, I guess that's a serious question. Where do we actually go to find these young people? And then once we have found them, we need to find something for them to do. As, I don't know if you're the same, Kaye, but I'm incredibly impatient. And things need to move at a million mile an hour. So find me something to do. Don't just get me in for breakfast and complain about the cost of the meal or whatever the price of fuel were back in 1943. I don't care. Give me something to do. Young people are stimulated these days. We've grown up with technology strapped to us. We work at a million mile an hour. We don't just want to sit around and have breakfast. So find us something to do. Otherwise, you'll have a bit of trouble keeping them. Engaging. How do you engage us? There's this nice little storybook here from Dilbert. Before I make my decision, I'd like to ask for your opinions. It's supposed to make you feel engaged. The other guy says, "Do you actually plan to listen to us?" And the guy says, "Well, I'm hoping it will look like that on the outside." So, I don't know how much you can relate to that, but engage us. Goes back to giving us something to do. And we are humans after all. And then the last part is actually keeping them. So, keep that in mind. How do you found them, you've given them something to do, how do you actually keep them stimulated? As a young generation, I don't know, I get bored pretty quickly. So, what are you going to do to keep them going and going again? Any other
You guys
comments?
want to throw out some ideas? So if you have, forged a relationship and maintained that, I can come back down again.
Good work. I think you need to backtrack a bit. It's about listening, active listening.
Active listening.
That's an old term, but it's very relevant.
Yeah, absolutely.
you need to listen to each other. Not only talk to each other, but listen.
Yep.
And have the time to listen.
Yeah,
You may be very active. I've got 4 sons, so I know about people doing stuff like you, but it's actually making time. And we talked about, someone mentioned fireside things. I take my 4 individually out for coffee, because that's the only time in their busy life that I actually can listen to them. Absolutely. And we can do the same with you guys.
Yeah.
Is a coffee.
Absolutely.
It's very simple, and it's better in the kind of mid-morning.
And there's actually a really good game I'll share with you when you're ever having coffee with people. And this whole mobile phone thing that seems to dominate conversations. What you actually do is everybody sits down at the table and they order their coffee, and you put all of your phones face up on a stack. The first person to pick their phone up because it rings or vibrates or whatever has to pay for the whole round of coffee. So it's a nice specific conversation. We got another conversation?
Hi, I think we have to earn their respect. And I think one way of earning their respect is getting them to teach us. Certainly as an ex-probation officer, I knew when I got respect from my clients, I got them.
Yep.
And we very seldom do that in this modern world. We've got global warming, enormous problems of resources, and we're just not earning respect, and it's time we did.
Yep. And that's reciprocal as well. As young people, we need to respect our elders, but you're right, actually gaining the respect of the younger generation is quite a difficult one. Okay, so the next one is where we have a bit of a rant and tell you what we actually want. So we'll get straight into it. What do we want from Rotary? Well, I guess the first thing is community participation. Believe it or not, we don't all sit in our rooms on the computer. We actually want to join Rotary to be involved in community projects and participate in service activities and fundraising and sausages and whatever else we do. Despite the stigma out there that young people are inconsiderate and self-centred, and you're right, a lot of them are, we actually want community participation.
I think it's also understanding that if young people are approaching you as a Rotary Club, it's generally because they're already actively involved in their community, just not in a way that you recognise as a current model. So realistically, young people from your Interact, Early Act stage right up to where Simon and I are, we're already connected to our community. We're already interested in the types of projects and areas that we want to be working in. And if we're approaching you as a Rotary Club, it's because we actually already have a vague idea where we want to go, but we're looking to you to give us some guidance and support about how we do that. We're not super enthused about the prospect of spending 8 hours at Bunnings on a Saturday, but if we have to do it, then we'll put the time in. So it's just understanding that community participation is a huge draw card, because we're going to do it and we're trying to find ways to do it, and if you give us, and not necessarily an easy but a simple and well-established way of doing that, then we'll really respond quite well.
Mentoring. Do you want to talk about mentoring? There's 2 different types of mentoring we've got there. One is business and career, and one is through Rotary.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest draw card for me as a young Rotarian is this point right here. This is what I'm looking for from every single person in this room, every single person in my Rotary Club, and every single person I've met on my journey through Rotary. I've been very, very lucky to have been blessed with wonderful people in my Rotary world that have been so great at this. This is why we come to a meeting. Please don't sit us at a kid's table. I really hate that. I don't want to sit with Simons. I want to sit with you. I want to learn. Well, that's for other reasons. But I want to sit with people like you, and I want to learn what has made you so successful. What have you done in your business, in your personal life, in your Rotary life that's made you a success? And what can I take from that? I'm being terribly selfish. I'm going, me. What can I get from you from this interaction? So an example of this, last year I went down to Canberra as part of the Success Conference, and we delivered a youth summit on this exact topic. This one right here. What do young people want from Rotary? What are we not doing right? What can we do better? And the number one thing from people under 40 that they want from Rotarians are meaningful relationships and mentoring. That's what they want. That's it, right there. Okay? They don't want you to treat them with kid gloves, all right? Or give them the tokenistic role of social media director because they're the only one that has a Facebook login. No, they want that meaningful relationship and the chance to have you as a mentor, okay? And I have people from this that I now class as my Rotary mentors that I'm taking through with me and doing other things that I'm learning from. And it would be the same, honestly, if someone is approaching you as a Rotarian, right, to join a Rotary club, they can go to Rotaract, can't they? They can go somewhere else. But if they're approaching you as a Rotary club, it's because they're looking for something different. And that difference is that point right there. That one there.
And how much does mentoring cost the club?
Time.
Nothing. And time.
That's it. Or a cup of coffee.
And that could cost you a bit if your phone rings. Business development. And put two of them up, business and personal development. Cast your eyes back to when you were in their shoes. Mentoring's a big part. You look up to somebody to teach you and guide you the way and show you the ropes. Business development and personal development are not too dissimilar to mentoring. As young people, we all aspire to be good in our professional fields, but also personal development, personal growth. For me, group study exchange did a lot of that. It gave me an insight to a lot of personal development and business development growth. So it's already doing it in the youth programs. How about we try and continue that across in our Rotary clubs as well? Young people actually look for this stuff. You all had mentors once upon a time, or people that you looked up to, masters, whatever they were. We need people to guide us and give us the ability to speak in front of groups of people, so we're good at public speaking, good at presenting ourselves, which isn't working quite well, but also business development. Rotary, I know, is not about business connections, and I know people can join Rotary for all the wrong reasons in business development, but the truth is that Rotary is a network of professional people, and the business development opportunities that come out of that, whether it be directly or indirectly, are incredible. So we talk about our Chamber of Commerce's and our other local groups for young business people. Rotary can do that. Rotary does that really well, and so it's something that we need to consider as well.
Also look at your training. A lot of young people that will join Rotary will do it, and this comes to membership retention, really, which is, for me, the important part of membership. You know, you can get members, but if you don't keep them, then you may as well not have had them in the first place. Alright? You retain members by making them feel connected to your club, and training is going to be a really important part of that. Our generation in particular, we've grown up very blessed in this country to have fantastic schooling and training options available to us, and we want to continue that in our personal and professional lives. And so if we come into Rotary and we don't know actually how it works, and someone kind of talks about foundation but we don't really get it or whatever, then we're not going to feel quite connected to the club and where the club is going and where district is going, and how we can progress within the organisation and grow and develop. So the best thing that happened to me was RLI. Graham, you're welcome for this group. It really was. It made me feel super connected to what my club was doing again. The session that got me was actually a strategic planning one. That was the one that really excited me, of all things. But it was really good. So consider that not just getting a new member in, but actually thinking about what training you can give them, even if it's just an experienced person sitting down and going, this is how you apply for a district grant, or this is how you can get your project up and running. That training aspect of it will help with all of those things as well.
So I guess the next part is, what do we want in Rotary? This might hurt a little bit, but we want things that are challenging and stimulating, not boring and old-fashioned and outdated and irrelevant to the society. Social interaction, we're social people. The funny thing is, this whole internet and technology craze, it's jammed us in our rooms and our faces into our mobile phones, has actually made us less socially connected with people face-to-face. You talk about face-to-face, well, young people don't know how to communicate face-to-face. So Rotary can actually give us that training and that help when we actually want social interaction. Affordability. It's all right for affluent people or business people that are well off and businesses doing fine to pay $30 or $40 a week to go to breakfast and then a $300 membership, but young people don't necessarily have the same opportunities and the same affluency as what we do. So it can be something as simple as, I can't afford my membership for the year, that eliminates an entire group of people that have all the same values that Rotarians do, just don't have the bank account to go with it. So I know the Rotary Club of Southport, they have a $50 annual fee, $50. They have people that pay that off over the year. And it's something like that is, the Rotary people have all the same values and they have the same commitment as everybody else, but that one thing about paying an annual fee and an ongoing cost for breakfast is stopping them from joining Rotary. Now, I ask you the question, is that grounds for not having somebody come into Rotary?
No.
No. That's what I thought. Flexibility. I don't know.
That old chestnut.
Do we want to meet at the same time and the same place, at the same meal, every week? No. Some people like consistency, some people like this stuff in their life, but it comes back to that same thing. Young people need to be stimulated, they need something different. We have different things happening every week, things come up, our lifestyles change. Rotary needs to be able to be flexible enough to accommodate that. If you can't make a meeting every week, then does that mean you're out of Rotary as well? No. So many people, come and join Rotary. We meet on a Wednesday morning. Oh, I can't, I need to be at work at 8 o'clock. So, boom, you've lost that person. Is that what we want? Do we want to lose people just because they can't make a meeting or the commitment levels? No.
I think it also comes into how you give young people roles in your clubs. Maybe they might not be able to make a meeting every week, but maybe they're the type of person that comes along to every single project that you do. You know, how are they giving back in their service to your club? Is it enough that your club is flexible enough and open enough to consider that meeting attendance is not the be-all and end-all of being a Rotarian? Meeting attendance, I'm sure, is why you didn't join Rotary to go and have dinner, you joined Rotary to be a part of something. And so if they're being a part of something and giving back to you in a different way, consider being open and flexible to the concept of changing your meeting attendance requirements.
Wonderful. Less structure. It comes back to the same thing as flexibility. I know people like structure and stability, but
That's actually me.
Young people just don't get it. Less formal. Who here still sings the national anthem at their meeting?
What's wrong with that?
Got a few clubs?
It's okay if you do.
It's okay if you do.
I like it.
Who does the four-way test? Fair enough, a lot of people. Are there any other formalities that people have that they think are preventing the younger people from coming in? Rotary Grace?
Toasting the Queen.
Toasting the Queen? Fines?
Fines.
Can I have an e-club moment? Sorry, indulge me. Our e-club doesn't do fines. We do happy dollars. Such a lovely idea. We say something we're happy for. It's all very emotional and gorgeous. We say something that we're happy for this week and we go straight on the RI website and you make a donation through there to the polio campaign. And it's fabulous. It's so nice and it allows you to really connect with the other people in your club. You're learning something about them. Okay, and you learn about other projects and activities and concepts that they're interested in and that they care about. You learn that their grandkids, got a medal at school sport that week. So that's really nice. So absolutely, I think a lot of young people find that quite negative and maybe contrary to the ethos of Rotary, which is such a beautiful, positive thing.
Absolutely. Less paperwork. I don't know how much paperwork other people have, but as an incoming president, it's killing me. Paperwork is killing me. Don't get me started. I'm just going to skip over that one. Efficiency. We'll go straight to that.
A little less conversation, a little more action, please. Please. Big one from Canberra, a huge one. They love the concepts and the ideas and all this, highly thought of things, but, if they don't see anything happen, then they're not going to listen to you the next time you start talking about stuff. That's it. We're results driven, really. We want to see what you've done. Okay? So if you're talking about, we really should talk about, our meeting format, and you've been talking about your meeting format for the last 5 district assemblies and nothing still has changed, do you actually want to make that change or do you want to continue as you are? And it's okay to continue as you are, but just be realistic about how people are going to respond to that. Just be realistic about the fact that if young people are continually sitting in your club and you're like, okay, Kaye, we're really thinking about, this project. it's a lot of work, we're not sure what we're going to do, that's fine. Just don't mess around. Are you going to do it? Are you going to not? If yes, I'm in. If not, cool, let's move on to the next thing. Impatient people, we're shocking. But really, we need to see that converted either into action. That's what needs to happen.
I believe a past district governor once said, just do it. Boom, there you go. Do they deliver emails on Sunday? Hell yes they do, but we don't want emails. So, the last one. This is over to you guys. What are you going to do about this problem? Silence. Nobody has an answer. How much are you willing to change? These two old ladies, I don't know if you can read that, but she was like, no way, oh my God. And I'm like, whatever, awesome. Are you going to change that much to get young people in? Are you willing to compromise? Give up something that you take for a tradition? Oh, hang on.
There's an old lady in the back wants to say something. My name's Regina Tucker and I am one of the original members of the new Southport Rotary Satellite Griffith University Club. Woo! Can I tell you that all those things you say pertain to young people, we have them too. I'm the oldest person in our club and I understand and absolutely agree with all those comments, and I bet everybody else in this room does too, because it's not about only being pertinent to young people. We're impatient, we like flexibility, we understand that it's not cheap to join Rotary, we understand about getting things done, but sometimes it's about meeting the protocols, and we're just finding our way in our club. So we've been we've been able to be flexible, and thank you to Graham Jones, because he's showing us the way, and he's been in Rotary a long, long time. So I just want to make the point that those things that you see as specific to young people aren't always necessarily only you. I'm impatient. I want it yesterday.
That is great, because that makes this whole generation gap so much easier.
It's so important that if you want young Rotarians, then you don't stop using that word, young Rotarians. It does my head in. I'm a Rotarian. That's how I describe myself.
Yeah.
Okay?
You don't necessarily want to be known as the young people.
The token young one. I'm a Rotarian.
You kind of stole what I was about to say, but take the them and us out of it. The young people in Rotary are honestly all the people sitting in this room, because a lot of you know my mum, Deborah Ralph. She's a powerhouse, and although she has, I think, reached 60, I've stopped counting, I don't think I'd classify her as old, and I don't think anyone in this room really wants to be classified as old. Yes, there's a generational gap, but it's not about them and us. It is about maintaining contact. And the only reason I'm still a part of Rotary today, and both my parents subsequently became Rotarians after my youth exchange, is pretty much narrowed down to 3 Rotarians who were in the Rotary Club of Ashmore, who sponsored me as a youth exchange student, and they were essentially mentors to myself and to my parents. The mistake they made, they kept asking my dad if he wanted to be in Rotary, and one day, finally, someone asked my mum,